of the fracas in the city today?
I just caught the tail end of the news as I was coming to the studio, and I had been called earlier by a friend of mine to warn me not to go into town because there was tear gas, and that Dr. Besigye had been arrested. I hadn't known the reason for the arrest. I think yesterday also police were at his residence to prevent him from, I don't know, going
getting into town.
Yeah. I think the one thing is, why do we have to degenerate into violence all the time? Is there no way to allow citizens to express themselves, to allow citizens to seek accountability, to allow without getting into these clashes? And I think we have a trigger happy, tear gas happy police on the one hand, but also mobs that are uncontrollable, and for various reasons. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of frustration that's boiling, and of course then it unfortunately causes deaths and injuries. So I think it's a sad day and a sad time for our country, and I think we need to do a big rethink. Recently at the Accord State of the Nation, we were talking about a national consensus, and I think the time is now, not later, otherwise we will definitely sink the country.
Godber, quick thoughts on that?
First of all, my condolences really to the family of this foreign police officer, and just to say that what the police is actually doing is to deal with symptoms of a bigger problem. So the police are being used as a medicine to treat symptoms of a problem of governance in this country. The governance questions are mainly political questions, where you basically have political disagreements between the major political actors, and so what you see is going to continue, and in fact you are likely to see the police being involved in much more violent activities, because the principles within our political landscape are incapable of coming together to have a conversation on how we address the fundamental political and governance questions that are actually breeding this kind of toxic discourse.
Thank you. Chairman Mao, you've been a victim of this. We've seen you shoved on the back of a police pickup, then we saw you being pinked at some time, or made blue with that water spray. Your quick thoughts on the events this afternoon?
I think we should sympathize with the family of this police officer. I don't know him among those who really are notorious. There are some 17 police officers on our list. those who we think really should be candidates for the International Criminal Court, starting with the Inspector General of Police himself. Usually the police is not targeted because they are supposed to be sort of neutral arbiters. Their main aim is law and order. This is not the first time a police officer has been hit. Many police officers have actually been injured by people hurling rocks. The organizers of the rallies and processions say, you know, these are NRM hooligans masquerading as opposition, and the government is saying, no, these are opposition hooligans. I believe what Godber said is spot on. 2 weeks ago, we sat at the National Consultative Forum of Political Parties, and we called for a national conference. If the leaders are not able to sit down and talk about the problems confronting the country, the violence is only going to get worse. Today it is one police officer. Tomorrow there will be more.
No, but remember in the Kayunga riots they set ablaze a whole police post. So
there are people who
at a police station.
There are people who have nothing to lose. Usually the police are the only group that would go home after change of government. But for the first time, I think when there's change of government, the police may have to run with the government because they have taken a side, and this is very unfortunate. Nevertheless, I don't think those of us who seek change should, preach violence.
No.
We have got to restrain so that we have the moral authority to condemn police violence.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you very much for those quick thoughts, and we'll keep updating our listeners on any developments in that direction as we move along with the discussion. Our discussion tonight focuses on Makerere University. Makerere University at Crossroads, the oldest institution of higher learning, faced with persistent squabbles and strikes. Makerere became a university after Uganda's independence in the early 1960s. Are its current troubles a reflection of those of the country, especially in the education sector? Godber, I want to start with you. You're a policy analyst. You spend a lot of time studying, and you all came through Makerere University. What do you feel when you listen to news, watch news about Makerere that mostly comes out these days?
Yeah, basically I think I have very, very good memories of Makerere University, because I was actually at Makerere, you could say, more or less like express from 1990 up to the end of 1996, because I did my bachelor's, went to the Road Development Center and did my postgraduate diploma, and then went back to Makerere for my first master's degree. Sometimes I see the lenses. I see Makerere University through the lenses of the Faculty of Law, where when we were in that school, we used to be 64 students. Our class with Jackie here, we were 64 students, and we would be taught day in, day out, be given courseworks. I think most of my research skills and analytical skills, I picked them from the courseworks. But now I teach at the university, and I teach a class of 200 students. And there is no way you can, I always say, there is no way you can teach 200 law students in a class. It's just impossible for you to produce quality law students, law graduates in a class of 200, 300. Now, I think what you are seeing is simply a reflection of the breakdown of the university. Now, I should say that when you look at Makerere now, you can see actually success stories like across this country. All the time, if you are looking for success stories, you find them. We are not short of success stories. We are not short of progress. But when you look at the institution, and you think of where an institution should be going, I think as a country we lost an opportunity to create our own pillars. And I think Makerere should have been preserved in this country as a pillar. In fact, call it an elite university, because people here fear talking about elite. But I think Makerere needed to have been retained as an elite university, where people go there because they have excelled and because they are capable of paying. And then you say, government, if you have your poor people who need to pay, including people like me, because if the government didn't pay for me, I had no chance whatsoever.